A random encounter at a broadcasting facility. A shared interest and love of all things Marvel.
Excelsior!
A misinterpreted program title. And behold, a podcast is born.
Peter Melnick.
Podcaster and comic book enthusiast. And
Eddie Wilson!
Upstate New York radio announcer, still with an inordinate amount of catching up to do.
Peter, what are you doing? Eddie!
Here we go with a new episode of The Marvelists.
Welcome, everyone, to The Marvelists, the Marvel Universe podcast. I'm Peter Melnick.
And I'm Eddie Wilson.
And joining us on the other end of the tin cannon string, we are joined with the man behind the pretty damn good Instagram page, ToyShiz. As it says on the tin, ToyShiz. Good evening.
How are you? Thank you for having me. This is I've been looking forward to this since we tried to set this up. And it's always nice to talk with you guys.
New for 22, very good.
I also got to I realized I kind of botched that opening, just one little thing. I said on the tin. No, on the packaging.
There you go.
What's the packaging composed of?
People will not know what tin no, I was kidding.
How many points of articulation you got?
Oh, these days, I mean, I'm lucky to get out of bed, right?
Do you have the Kung Fu grip?
Always. That never ends.
So originally we were going to be doing an episode sometime around Toy Fair, but I don't know if you guys know this, but there's this thing called a pandemic going on. Still going on 2 years later. Still crazy after all these years.
I don't see how that's possible. I was told it was supposed to go away. Skies were supposed to open up. It's supposed to be all sunny. I don't know what happened.
Well, it is always sunny in Philadelphia. Why didn't they bring Toy Fair over to Philadelphia?
Different location.
True. But yeah, Toy Fair was supposed to happen. Obviously, it's not going to be happening this year, but I thought, why don't we bring Toy Fair to all of you? So what we're going to be doing is giving you all toys. Now, line up everybody one by one.
Santa?
Exactly. But anyway, so...
No cutting in that line, by the way.
We have all sorts of action figures for you, ladies and gentlemen. We've got all of the hot toys all the kids want. We've got Spy Master. We've got Rock Panther, or whatever his name is, or Python. We got...
Any retro? Rock'em Sock'em robots?
We got, for the newest video game, Lee Carvello's Golf. Enjoy.
There you go.
So...
Shoes, putter.
With...
And iron.
With Marvel Legends right now, Marvel Legends obviously are going to be the continual hot toy in the realm of Marvel Comics, and the last year has been insane seeing the output of what Marvel has been putting out with Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
And, for yourself, what were some of the ones that, you saw in 2020 that caught your eye?
The best ones that, over and over, it's been a long time coming. They kind of disappeared from Marvel Legends for a little bit, but anytime they get into the X-Men, I've been really enjoying those, along with more so the animated stuff. A lot of the 90s properties are coming back because of anniversaries. It makes you know how old you are at this point when it hits like the 30-year mark, 25-year mark, whichever it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1990 was only 10 years ago. Yes, only 10 years ago.
And 10. Mm-hmm.
That's all we do. Exactly right. That's what we just lie to ourselves now at this point. Like, no, that was a couple years ago, right? Come on. But yeah, the animated stuff. I kind of fell out on the MCU mainly because the movies last year, they weren't really doing it for me, except for the Eternals. I mean, Oscar nominated.
Oh, man. The funniest thing about Eternals for me was that was the MCU's Oscar bait movie. Like, they literally would, like, every single time there was a change in the slate, they wanted to keep it during that time because that's, the Oscar bait movie season. Like, we got Licorice Pizza still showing in theaters, and they're probably going to be pumping up the showings of that one because that's an Oscar bait kind of movie.
Yeah.
And with Eternals, they were really hedging their bets on that. And it's hilarious because now the For Your Consideration Marvel movie is Spider-Man No Way Home. And, I've been seeing ads on Facebook. I've been seeing ads on all sorts of social media platforms. And a lot of For Your Consideration, Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm like, that's the movie you guys didn't really have faith in that much.
Yeah, right?
But now it's like, well, sassafras. We always were for this. The sheer buffoonery of Marvel at that moment.
Well, real quick, if anybody knows these numbers, please pass them on to me. But do we know what Eternals cost to make and how much it grossed.
About Tree Fitty.
Tree what?
Tree Fitty.
That's a thing that grows outside. What are you talking about?
I'm not entirely sure how much it made. I know it did decent where it was still playing in theaters in, I think, January.
Okay.
So, it's, I don't.
Yeah, it's a little up in the air. I think it's found a little bit of a home better on Disney Plus. Much like Encanto. If you haven't seen that Disney movie, that's a great Disney movie. Didn't even know it was out.
I've heard excellent things.
To Disney Plus.
Yeah, I've heard excellent things about Encanto, and I've wanted to watch that. But when it came to Eternals coming to the award-winning Disney Plus, what got me was the fact that so many people now I know are saying, finally watched Eternals, And the critics are average, raving in terms of just mehness of it all. Like, a lot of people I've seen, like, I watched it.
Yeah, that's really what it is at this point. It has cool, like, anytime you want to do cosmic stuff with Marvel, I'm totally in. That's why I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I really like Thor Ragnarok because of how comic booky it got. In many ways, Eternals went bat poop crazy, with space, and you had all the Arisham, what is it called, the Celestials, and I dig that. That's really cool. But then when you'd have those wide open sweeping shots, like they were trying to recreate the Revenant, like you said, like Oscar bait, and then you have Icarus being attacked by the deviants and stuff like that, a la the bear from like the Revenant DiCaprio movie. It just kind of lost me. You could kind of fast forward through all of that and just be like,
here's the thing with the deviants for myself. They're so unremarkable that I don't remember what they look like. I just remember they're on all fours. That's the only point I remember.
They're very pointy.
I guess. I genuinely do not remember what they look like. And the problem with Eternals, and I realize, if you want to hear more of our thoughts on this, listen to our, episode about the movie. But one thing, these months later on, it bothers me that I don't remember how many of the characters' names there are. I know there was Icarus. I know there was, and I'm not sure if I'm correct on the name, but Kingu was his name?
Kingo.
There we go.
I just rewatched it like a day or two ago, so that's why I'm like fresh on the names. But when you see the figures that are eternally on the shelves at Target and Walmart right now, I don't even know the names half the time. I'm like, that guy.
Besides, yes, we all know, whether we spoke before we started recording, that yes, it was a long movie and maybe didn't need to be in some respects. 10 characters to be introduced to in one shot is a bit much.
Yeah, it's a slog, to be honest. And ToyShiz, you just mentioned in regards to how they're still on the shelves. It was funny, before the movie came out, I remember someone grabbed a bunch of them and hid them in another aisle because they wanted to be able to get the figures like the day before the movie would come out, because they know they're going to be all gone. It's going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was the movie. Those figures were on the shelves for months before the movie came out, and then once the movie came out, gone. My biggest regret, by the way, Guardians Volume 2, I'm still kicking myself for not getting Yondu, because that was a peg warmer up until the movie came out.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, cool. I wonder how much she goes for. Oh, no.
It's like Ghostbusters Afterlife, too. It's unfortunate because the figures, they're fairly decent. I mean, I did like them. They're kind of like baby's first Ghostbusters, though.
Yeah.
But, up until the movie came out, and then the movie was largely received pretty well. And then I remember going to the store the next day, 2 days after the movie kind of debuted, and that weekend they were cleared out. And I was like, oh, there you go. That's nice to see.
Well, that made me think, too, ToyShiz, with respect to Afterlife, which unfortunately I did not get to see yet, but I did pick up a Hallmark ornament that came out this year of the two little mini Stay Puft, and it's for a friend who's a big Ghostbusters fan, pretty much.
Oh, name his name. He's been on the show.
Trey Stone. Okay. So, shout out, and he's got the accoutrement, he's got the costume. He's a Ghostbuster.
Does he have the name tag with his name on there?
Yes, he does.
Okay, and in the same font?
Yes.
I love.
Absolutely.
My favorite thing about the Ghostbusters fandom is the costumes and just how it can be customizable for every single person.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Proton pack. He's got the neutrino wand, 2 neutrino wands, and at least one trap, I believe.
Well,
Well, what I'm getting at, though, is with respect to ornaments, Hallmark or other, well, not necessarily otherwise, because I think the knockoff Hallmark line is pretty, and that's in my estimation.
I want to know, like, Eddie, are you like a part of like an underground fandom of Hallmark ornaments? Like where there's like, people just randomly bitching at each other about like, oh, these figures are warming, or these ornaments are warming the pegs.
Somebody had a bad day painting these faces.
God.
But what, no, I mean, as far as the value you may have run into on some of these ornaments.
It kind of varies. I do follow, like, especially like, holiday season and stuff like that. I like some of the Nintendo ones that they do because they go old school, and I have a few, but it's really if I find them or it's like easy to come by. Because other than that, usually I see them go on clearance, I think.
Well, you mentioned, by the way, with Ghostbusters Afterlife, I had seen the movie and I really loved the movie. Like, and then afterwards, I'm like seeing different podcasts or different websites. They'll talk about the worst movies of last year, and Ghostbusters Afterlife or whatever shows up on there. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that movie. But again, to quote Eric Siska from We Hate Movies, it's okay to like a movie. Much like, hey, if you like Eternals, more power to you. I'm not going to judge you. You can like whatever you want to like.
All right, so fine. Eternals, Inhumans, and Thor: The Dark World. Rank them.
Well, Inhumans, first off, Eddie, was not a TV show, or it was a movie. It was a TV show. I'm saying
just a Marvel property.
I've never watched it. I tried getting through the first 10 minutes. That thing stunk on ice. But anyway, before, let me just say this. When, you had mentioned about Ghostbusters and how the figures were selling off the shelves, I remember leaving the movie and I'm thinking to myself, I kind of want to play the Ghostbusters game now for the Switch.
Yeah,
I have that. I'm going to track that, find my copy and play that again. And I didn't, but, it was like, it's one of those things where these movies come out and they make you want to, enjoy the property a little bit more, like immerse yourself more in there. For myself, I'm going through a massive Spider-Man reread. As of right now, since I started reading these again, I want to say the week of or a couple days after I saw it, when No Way Home came out, I started rereading Spider-Man from the beginning, and I'm going the whole Megillah, ladies and gentlemen. I'm throwing in Marvel Team Up. I'm throwing in Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of. I'm throwing in whatever I can throw in.
Friendly Neighborhood?
Yeah, when I get to that, I'll be throwing that in. But I'm throwing everything in. And as of this recording on January 18th at 5:06 p.m., I'm currently up to number 15 or 16 on Marvel Team Up and number 127 on Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. I've read over 100-something or almost 150 issues of Spider-Man in the course of a month. I feel like I'm going to become the Flaming Carrot any moment now. But I haven't done them in one sitting. Give me time, though. But one of the things is, like, I like when a property will come out and they give you that content to enjoy afterwards. Like, immerse yourself a little bit more in there. And, with Ghostbusters, we had that. And then you look on the flip side, Eternals. Eternals is such a polarizing kind of thing, isn't it? Where it's like, I want to experience Eternals. You got the Jack Kirby run, which is great, but a acquired taste. You have the Neil Gaiman run, which is its own thing. You have the Kieran Gillen run, which, again, God damn, Kieran rules. Like, he manages to find a way to make these stories work so well. And then you have a character like Shang-Chi, where Shang-Chi really hasn't had that many great series. He has the original stuff, which has not aged very well, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about the character, for sure.
But I like the fact that we're getting newer and newer stuff to enjoy. Like, the current run of Shang-Chi really slaps. Like, you got to check that out if you have the ability. I think it's the first, 10 issues or so are available on Marvel Unlimited. Check that out. And it got me thinking as well. I've been doing this for 10 years in terms of being a fan of this character, but I have people talking to me now, I want to get into this character. Give me some recommendations of a series. My time to come is finally shining, ladies and gentlemen. I really botched these words. Moon Knight. The trailer dropped, and I even have my mother saying to me, can you give me a Moon Knight book to read? Give me a recommendation. I'm like, well, where do we start?
There you go.
And, gentlemen, I saw the trailer. You saw the trailer. We all saw the trailer. The whole damn world saw the trailer. What'd you think?
Worth looking at. Definitely, the build up to this is unlike like Peter, many others that I think maybe secretly or not so much have formed a circle, a club, or something like that are going to be all over that when it happens on March 30th. And, you're looking at a personality disorder, perhaps, multiple personalities. I think we do hear the names, Stephen, and then on the phone that he finds, he utters the name Mark, because that's what he's being told, oh, you're alive. So
who are you?
What's going on here? And when we do see, I don't know, it's the computer tech or whatever it is, where I guess the costume envelops itself around him in a different kind of way that Venom would.
But Eddie, did you like the trailer?
Absolutely.
That's what I asked.
I'm getting into descriptive things and the things that are happening about it. Tangents are us. Didn't you know that?
That is fair. That is very fair.
Jeez, you think you know a guy for, what is it, 3.5 years we're doing this?
Well, I was going to say longer just knowing you.
Oh, well, yeah.
God, it's almost 10 years.
Here we
Holy
go. Another 10-year thing. Mm-hmm.
Wow. 10 years of Eddie Wilson. I'm going to make a T-shirt of that.
It's a mini recap itself.
It's going to be a record.
Do it in 5 minutes, probably.
It's going to be a 45.
Yeah.
Which do you want, 45 or 8-track?
Well, I wouldn't say 78 now, would I?
78s are bigger than 45s.
And heavier. Could do damage. Okay, so...
Bludgeon a small child from a really high height.
So, your take.
Oh, what do you think?
He's over the moon about it. Let's go that way.
And I want to preface Eddie just said it. We're going to be doing a Moon Knight recap show. And by the way, ToyShiz, you're more than welcome to come on board for one of those episodes.
Sure, yeah.
And basically, the show is going to be called Over the Moon, a Moon Knight podcast. And I'm really proud of that one. That was a one-take wonder for that. I'm like, ooh.
Because what? You ran out of liking Looney for Mooney?
I didn't want to use Looney for Mooney. Okay. I mean, the show, we can't really...
come on, that writes itself. Looney for Mooney? Come on.
It was either going to be that or, Dracula, you owe me my money, you big effing nerd. But, that's way too many words.
No. Plus, that sounds
That's not a real comic. No,
I love that people think that's a real comic, though. Like, shout out to the boys from Moon Knight Corps that they made that, and it's still something that's, like, all these years later is still circulating on the internet. And just a little aside, somebody at Marvel, like, early in the days of when that came out, I had talked to somebody at the Marvel offices about that, and the look of disdain on their face for hearing about that meme was one of the most priceless things.
I think that Looney for Mooney alludes or lends itself to another slogan that was and this could be a breakfast cereal. Or in this case, Looney for Mooney could be a midnight snack. See what I did there? Oh, Eddie, Peter says.
Oh, Eddie, Peter says.
Told you.
I do think the idea, though, of what they're going with for the trailer, I've seen complaints about it already from a lot of fans on the internet of, oh, this is going to be a series, and it's written by the guy who was the one responsible for the U.S. adaptation of Death Note and the Fantastic Four 2015 movie. Here's the thing about this. He's also the guy that did Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, that's why I got faith in him. I love that show, and I'm really curious to see what he does with Moon Knight.
Personally, just on the topic of the adaptation of the American version of Death Note, I always love when I hear weeaboos going on talking about the American adaptations of their cartoons, and it really makes me laugh because, like, Cowboy Bebop or Burrito Bean Bowl or whatever it's called now, my favorite thing about that is the series was panned, and so many people went in with low expectations, but now a month later, the show gets canceled, and you hear people going on saying, I want more Cowboy Bean Bowl. And
yeah, that's a show that I was actually upset when they said we're canceling that because you can't mess with the cartoon. I know all these people get so upset. Oh, they're ruining it. Like no, they're not ruining anything.
As long as you have the original. They
put their homework in on that show. That was a cool show. I like that.
And here's the thing, though: their Titan Comics are actually coming out with a Cowboy Bebop comic book based on that version. And it's,
okay.
Yeah, it's dropping this Wednesday, January 19th. We actually got an early copy and pretty good stuff. So, yeah.
I don't mind, like I said, you can always go back. You can't mess with the anime. The anime was perfect. I'm not an anime person, but that is what really got me into it. I remember watching it on Adult Swim and staying up and pushing record so I can watch it. I got home from school the next day because I wasn't going to stay up till 12:30.
I did.
You did?
Of course.
Oh my God, I have so many memories of early Adult Swim. Brings back so many great memories. C-Lab 20. When we realize it now, C-Lab 2021 is now in the past.
30 years in the past, 35 years, 40th anniversary.
It's a year in the past now. C-Lab 2021. But it's funny because like I have so many great memories too of that era of Adult Swim. All kids out of the pool. Bump, bump,
Right?
bump,
Yeah,
bump,
they
bump.
remember they bring the bumps back. Like it was about 5 years later. Like, hey, remember our classic bumps? And they have all the old people swimming around and
With
cool.
Tito Fuente playing in the background, that remix, which still haunts me to this day in the most beautiful ways. But I love, the fact that, going back over to Mooney, I love the fact that we're getting this character. And so many people, though, are complaining about, oh, it's deviating from the source material. Here's the thing about that, ladies and gentlemen. When you have something so close to the source material where it's basically a note-for-note adaptation, it's kind of boring then because you know all of the beats that are coming. You don't want it to be like, hey, here's, that was going to happen. I kind of knew that. I haven't watched much of Invincible, but if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, TS, is that the same thing as like a note-for-note of the comic?
As far as I'm aware, I would kind of put it up against what they kind of did with The Walking Dead, the live action original series, where it kind of started off following the comics and then it kind of went in its own direction. But the Invincible season 1 is pretty much spot for spot. Yeah, it's there's a couple changes here and there, but it's largely the same. But for me, as not really reading the comics until I saw the show, and then I went back and kind of read the comics a little bit, and that's how I know this. I enjoyed it immensely. So,
although I got to say, reading early Invincible is such a slog because you got to read some of Kirkman's early dialogue, which feels so clunky.
Yeah.
My favorite part is the moment where Invincible is talking with his principal, and the principal is just like, "Now I know you're a good kid," and it's just like, oh my god, it's like you literally see the marionette strings as he's talking. But
well, hasn't it been that in other cases, whether we have spoken about it or others, that you can't take comic book source material and it's not going to translate well for whatever reason into another medium, whether it's in character development or you only have so much time to get this moving along?
I kind of disagree with that, though. Like, it can translate, but it's just you don't want it to be a note-for-note carbon copy.
I agree, too. But and I'm not talking about in terms of technology and stuff, but just in terms of maybe
the storytelling,
backstory and stuff. You want to just get it up to speed. I
feel like going a little bit different helps, although there are moments when a source material will, match the film adaptation. Look at Zack Snyder's Watchmen. It's pretty much a note for note, right down to the storyboards, to the comic panels of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' seminal masterpiece.
Yeah, which I didn't mind that. It worked. I liked it a lot. So
sometimes though it can be a bummer. Friend of the show, Josh Rosengren, the legendary Josh Rosengren, he was reading Dark Knight Returns and watching the movie, but he openly remarked, "I was too lazy to read the book, so I had the book out while I was watching the movie." And I'm just like, oh God, Josh.
I think that with Moon Knight, I can't say that I'm more of the Marvel fan of Moon Knight in knowing very little about enough to get me, like, if somebody was to ask me, like, hey, who's Moon Knight? But from what I saw in the trailer, I'm hyped for it, and I'm gonna say that with how I kind of feel towards Disney Plus shows for Marvel lately, I usually, with the exception of What If, I did like What If. Although it's kind of like completely different to me. It was a cartoon, whereas the live action stuff kind of goes either way. But it starts off good, and then they always kind of fizzle out towards the end. So I'm kind of hoping for a complete package here with Moon Knight. So
I did love Hawkeye, though. Hawkeye and WandaVision are like the two where, for myself, it was all hits. Although there are people out there that will say, for example, WandaVision didn't, hit the landing. And I get that, but...
Yeah, I will agree with that. I actually really liked the beginning of WandaVision, the first 2 episodes where you're like, I have no idea what's going on, but it was like different and weird. But then it kind of fizzled out for me, at the end.
WandaVision, though, with the opening, you mentioned the whole thing of how weird and different it was. That is the perfect description of getting new media, to consume after the whole, freeze of 2020. Like, that is the perfect description. And it's like, it's funny, you will always remember where you were when, the pandemic started officially.
Yeah.
And it's like, You'll also
we were in New York, remember? I guess that's where I met you. It was a McFarlane booth.
That was literally, I think 2 or 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
And then just boom. But, you know.
I just think with Moon Knight, and like you alluded to, T.S., that somebody who might not know much about it and just hear, who's Moon Knight, whatever, and the fact that that person finds out, it's a Marvel character now that's coming out of the comics onto a different medium. Oh, hey, I'm going to have to check that out. The name precedes it, and then you'll at the very least learn a little something about this character that may not be following to the T the comics.
Am I the only one who finds it funny here that the character who's been lovingly called by so many detractors as Marvel's Batman is coming out the same month as DC's Batman of The Batman?
Which one, The Batman or a Batman?
No,
some Batman.
Oh, boy.
Although, you've been posting the photos of the McFarlane DC multiverse figures as they're coming out, and man, I did not think we would be getting a bondage Riddler. I really did not think that would be a thing happening. But when I see that, I'm just like, it's so unnerving, and I'm tired of Batman. I'm really tired of Batman from the Distinguished Competition. But when I see that, I'm just like, you got me again, damn it.
Yeah. Before I really want to talk about Batman. Before we get off of Moon Knight real fast, I want to say that this is like one of the few exceptions when I see the costume on the live screen, adaptation, and I go like, I actually really like that better than the artwork of the old Moon Knight.
It looks ominous.
I'm sorry, what?
It looks ominous or creepy.
Yeah. I thought it's different, and I actually like the wrappings. Like they're going like the whole Egypt mummy type thing, where instead of a superhero type suit.
I know where you're
going.
going.
No, I was going to say that makes sense.
To
have that be. Wow, you were talking about a costume that I wore once.
I know. I was thinking you were going to go with the Living Mummy.
The Living Mummy, supernatural thrillers. Yes, absolutely.
I love that he includes the subtitle, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, that was the title, supernatural thrillers.
I love that.
Headless Horseman.
Oh,
I think there's
Here
a
we go.
Scarecrow in there.
I got him on spooky stuff now.
It doesn't take much. I can do that myself.
How many days till Halloween as of this recording, Eddie?
January 18th. Oh, we've got only 9 months and about 18 to 13 days. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Wilson. But
this is a character whose costume will not stay. I guess it's a very light gray, clean, exactly. Because as far as the part of the trailer with that series of punches going on there, you saw from a distance. Yeah,
from a distance.
Thanks, Bet. This is going to go.
Murray.
No, Bette Midler.
The Pride of Canada, Anne Murray.
Fine, if you like. But this is going to be a bloody character, I think, to some degree.
Wow, Eddie became British for a second.
I hope. Actually, I really wish they would have put this on Hulu to go a little bit more, that R-rated thing. Because, Disney Plus, hopefully they'll put, like, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Power Ranger type stuff in Moon Knight. But you know what I mean? Like, they pull it back a little bit too much sometimes, where it's like, no, just let Moon Knight get covered in blood, beating up a creature or monster, whatever he's punching.
Have to have some backups for sure.
And a lot of people are, wondering what the show is going to be about. Is it going to be, an adaptation of this or this or this? As far as I can tell, it's going to be an adaptation partially of my boy Max Bemis's run on Moon Knight from 2017, 2018, the Marvel Legacy line, where he fought the Sun King. And that's who Ethan Hawke's character.
That's who Hawk is, right? Or he's the other Moon Knight, the one that his brother was at one point. Right?
He's like a mental asylum patient, and he becomes like a.
Oh yes, right.
It's such an interesting thing though that I love that the lead singer of Say Anything's comic is getting adapted into a thing. Like that's so weird, and it's gonna be weird to see Max Bemis's name in the credits. As a fan, as a former emo kid, that's gonna be really weird to see. But like I love seeing some of these characters, and it's also funny seeing Ethan Hawke in something after he made fun of Marvel before. Money talks.
Right.
But wait, Eddie, what's the name of the song? Money Talks.
AC/DC, 1991.
Well, no, you spelled it wrong. AC Lightning Bolt DC. But in regards to
how do you spell lightning bolt?
Lightning bolt. Good enough. But
this show is brought to you by our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/The Marvelists. And on the $3 tier, you'll get access to episodes early and ad-free. The $5 tier gets you our 2 bonus shows. One Fantastic Voyage, where we dissect and just talk about the 102 issues, one by one, although if it's a storyline, more than one at a time, of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's amazing, incredible, spectacular, invincible, and fantastic run of the Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comic magazine. And 2, you haven't read that? A show dedicated to the comic books that I haven't read yet. Some Marvel, some DC, all fun. And on the $8 tier, pick a topic of your choosing, not a topping of your choice. Or perhaps you can be a guest on The Marvelists. Above all else, we thank you for your continued support.
I also want to talk, since we got ToyShiz on the line, I want to talk some Marvel toys. We talked at the beginning of the episode, but I want to talk a little bit now, the future of what we're going to be seeing. A lot of stuff, there's been a lot of rumor and innuendo. There's been speculation going around. I saw in various Facebook groups I'm in, where you see a lot of people getting mad about people buying toys. In regards to
where do those live?
Oh, they are fun to watch, and I love the people defending it by going, "Oh, well, those people get in early. You should do that too." I'm like, well, I have a job, so I can't do that. But
that's largely it's something I strive to do, is try to mainly kind of teach. Like, hey, if you can't be here at this point, or maybe try and you set something up at a different time, or don't be mad if you miss it. It'll come back. These stuff always comes back around.
In the interest of fairness,
it's little tips and tricks that really are helpful when you try to collect.
In the interest of fairness, interest of fairness, riding back to Moon Knight, I've only seen him once in the wild. And
the newest Walgreens one.
Yeah, and I will say this about that Moon Knight. I did buy both that were sitting there, but I did use the one as a giveaway for our Twitter page. So that one went to a loving home, and the other one went to a loving home, aka mine. But in regards to the future of the Marvel Legends, again, I had seen a rumor and innuendo list, and we're not going to take it as the gospel, but there are some speculation points in there that got me excited, because somebody made a comment in one of those Facebook groups, and I laughed, where they go, they're running out of ideas. How the hell are you running out of ideas when you're throwing characters like Spider-Man as a rumored one, various characters from the animated series, both X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man, as well as so many others, and that's considered running out of ideas? No.
As long as Spider-Man has the gun and then a little comic blurb that says, I'm the emissary from hell, we're good. Yeah, make it deluxe, whatever you want to do.
And I remember when I talked with Dwight and Ryan at Toy Fair in 2020, on the show, I had mentioned, I said to them, you guys do some deep cuts for some of these. I'd love to see, since you guys are doing the Fox figures, getting the likenesses, maybe we could see a Lou Ferrigno Hulk. Maybe we could see a Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Do those as an online exclusive, give them to the people that want to make them, not print to order, but, mold to order or whatever. But,
low run.
Yeah, and it's they'll go to the people that actually really want them. I would love a Punisher of Dolph Lundgren. That version of the character is so cool.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
But it's one person, and the reaction in the group that I was in was surprisingly positive. Only one person was like, no, I don't want that. But it was the suggestion, and a former guest of the show, the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man. And with this year being the 60th anniversary of the Wallop and Web spinner, I got to thinking, you know what? Do it. I want to see that version of Spider-Man as an action figurine.
That would not be bad at all. And as a kid, I do remember, I don't know how I couldn't tell you how I watched that show, but it was on
Sci-Fi.
Something.
It was on Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi? Okay,
Yeah.
It must have been, okay, if that's what, then it must have been that. And I watched the heck out of that show. And that's what's kind of fun about Marvel Legends is, I look at my collection of them, and I'm like, God dang, there's hundreds, if not, it's getting up there. Thousands, who knows? But that's where Marvel Legends really shines, especially in its 20-year history run already, is that no matter how deep a cut you can go, there's somebody that wants a figure of that character. What do we got? Despair, and we have Sleepwalker, now coming. Like you said, there's rumored stuff. We got animated stuff on the horizon with X-Men VHS tapes and stuff. So they're really branching out to where if you're a Marvel fan, there's something for you in some capacity, and that's a great toy line to have.
Right.
You don't have to get them all.
If I caught you right, you said Despair. That's a Marvel villain, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. And if I remember, and this is, correct me if there's been more than this appearance that I think I saw covered 2 issues of Marvel Team Up with Red Sonja.
Oh.
In the late or Man Thing. Man Thing and Red Sonja, they were back to back like 68, 69 with the issues, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even Red Sonja, that would be a great figure to have. I know a lot of people will still want, even though Toy Biz kind of did the, Conan a while ago when they did they got out of Marvel for a little bit and they did like the more independent books kind of thing, Madman and
Savage Dragon.
Well, well, where else? Now, that's the only reference I know to Despair. Is this character shown up any other titles or with any other characters that we know of?
That's one. Despair is one of those where, I see the character. I couldn't necessarily tell you exactly where I've seen him, especially recently, but it's kind of like Moon Knight, where the costumes and the names and everything really stand out, but it's just, I love like you said, the deep cuts of characters. And
that's definitely a deep cut. I think Peter might have been looking it up, actually. But
well, in regards to characters, just like, quote unquote deep cuts, not so much deep cuts in the sense of an obscure character, but obscure versions of the costumes or references. One of the rumored ones that I had seen was a War Machine figure with the color palette of the character from Marvel vs. Capcom. And if they do that, I'm hoping they take us for a ride, because that is the kind of figure. And by the way, that was a reference to the music of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, ladies and gentlemen. But in regards to doing that with, those kind of versions, I love that level of detail and love of these characters for the fans. And when they came out with those little, do you remember at Toy Fair that year when it was like they were building up for the Venom 2 stuff as well? And they had the little mini Venoms where you squeeze them and a little figurine would pop out of them?
Yeah, the goos.
I love those.
Yeah.
And I remember getting 2 of them. There was a black Venom, and then there was a baby blue Venom. And I got the baby blue Venom because I'm like, are they doing Marvel vs. Capcom Venom as this? Because that baby blue Venom is the absolute coolest version of the character for myself. And that is epitomizing Venom from my childhood,
Yeah, that of all the, 50, 60 Venom, not including the Venom offshoot characters and everything else, they've done one technically for Toy Biz where they did the Marvel vs. Capcom line. He is blue, but he's not like the video game blue. They still have yet to really capture that look, and Marvel Legends would be great, to put that in there. That's for sure.
I agree. And it's like you have a wide variety of these characters. And so, this year as well is also the 50th anniversary of Ghost Rider. And I have a weird feeling like they love doing retro card backs. They love doing the retro figures. They had the whole Fantastic Four line recently. They had the X-Men Deadpool's, or the X-Men one where there was also, an X-Force card back, which I love that they did. They did the Spider-Man animated series ones. I have a weird feeling that Ghost Rider is going to be the next retro wave.
I would not, I can't say that, they've not, I actually did an interview with them. It was at some point last year, I believe, where we were talking, and they said, "Oh, what retro stuff would you want to see?" And I did say Ghost Rider. That was like my number one, because I was also looking at the old Toy Biz figures at that time for like my retro shiz things that I do, and I distinctly remember the team being very uplifting about that. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, that would not be a bad thing at all. So sometimes, if you look at timing and you look at what movies are coming out or what comic book events are coming out, I'm sure that we'll see, if they're going to call it, Marvel saying, oh, it's the year of the Ghost Rider. Well, to hype it all up, if hopefully we would see a retro Ghost Rider wave. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Ghost Rider figures coming out. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind a new Danny Ketch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or
I'm showing Eddie the card back of what those looked like, and they are predominantly 90s, like right down to, the neon colors, that neon orange glow color. And it's something about that era. And I think not just because, this year is the 50th anniversary of Ghost Rider, but you also have the upcoming Midnight Sun game for the PS5 and all those other systems. And that's going to be, by the way, I love that everyone's hyped for that game. I could not care less. And it's like
it looks cool. I just video games, unless it's Mario or Tetris these days, I'm like, well, I hope it's fun.
I'm hyped though more for the Spider-Man 2, but that's next year or whenever the hell it's going to be happening. But
yeah,
I think the idea of all of these characters and all of these, like I said, I will never be tired of the retro stuff. There's even down to like wrestling figures, like when you see the homages, the love of these other third-party companies making their own versions of the Hasbro figures. And, shout out to Zombie Sailor Toys doing the recent Danhausen, which from the Heels and Faces line, which sold gangbusters, and it's very nice, very evil. But
I love that guy. He's so nice. I talk to him every once in a while.
Zombie or Danhausen?
Danhausen.
Danhausen's a good dude.
Zombie Sailor Toy. He's great too. I just specifically, Danhausen. He's awesome.
Well, I was going to say, I think if you're going to do, and if they didn't do it already, with there being, the Ghost Rider 50th coming, and you do retro, and you make a package of all the variations from Johnny Blaze to Danny Ketch, Robbie Reyes, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the female Ghost Rider's name of more recent. But you do a gift pack. Like I've seen 5 characters like Avengers in a row, and I think it was a Target exclusive or something.
Here's the thing: you just said a female Ghostbuster. I had no idea.
Oh my God! I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Wow,
that's how far behind on Ghost Rider.
Well, there was that movie, the female Ghost Buster, right? Yeah, Bus Riders. Yeah.
Bus Rider. Oh,
the Bus Riders.
How much? How much is the fare, Eddie?
That's your soul tag, nabbit.
Do I have a student discount? Does that count?
Pen and stare. That's where it is.
Well, they got to do the glow in the dark though. If they don't have flame glow, I don't want them.
Yes, right. And the Danny Ketch for your request has to be in blue. It has to be that flaming blue color, and also let's incorporate what Vengeance was another character. And
that's what Batman loves.
Let's get a caretaker in there as well.
Well, here's the thing,
and
by the way.
Western Ghost Rider,
You mentioned the 90s Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, and all I can think when you just said glow in the dark, that's a predominant gimmick from that time. And I will never forget getting my copy of the Ghost Rider cover signed with the glow in the dark cover, signed by Mark Texiera, who, by the way, if you're at a New York Comic-Con, be sure to say his name 3 times. He will set up a table right by you afterwards. But anywhere in the tri-state area, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Texiera, Mark Texiera, Mark Texiera.
It's always there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Texiera is in the studio. but
hey guys.
But getting him to sign my copy of that book, and I was actually upset with him when he signed in the glow in the dark part, and then I was like, wait a minute, I just got a glow in the dark autograph. That's kind of cool. So I'm like, I walked up to him afterwards. I'm like, I was so upset with you for doing that, and I'm like, that's actually kind of cool. He's like, yeah, see? I'm like, yeah. And then I walked away. That was the end of that exchange.
He's like, come on, I know what I'm doing.
But it was just like I love the 90s for that gimmick era. There's just something special about it.
Everything even nowadays that glows. I'm always like flame glow. It just the old commercials with Cal Dodd narrating the Wolverine, and there's something about that. Especially for a Marvel nerd, having all those Toy Biz things. It's like, it's. You have to say flame glow.
we're not puffing them up because we love Hasbro. We we love Hasbro. It's like no, because they have so many people on their team that get what we love, and what I really enjoy as well, in recent memory, are going to be those Hasbro Pulse exclusives of the X-Men figures in the style of the 90s, packaged in VHS tape boxes.
Oh. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of my retro Spider-Man things. I pushed for that and just wouldn't leave them alone, and that's why we're getting them. So
thank you so much.
Yes, it's all because of those videos. Yes,
but I love seeing that love, and I also enjoy. Mondo did it with their Wolverine figure, and they did it as well with this new the VHS style one, where it comes with the picture frame of Scott and Jean. And it makes me laugh every single time that a meme became an action figure, not once now, but twice. That would be like, the Hasbro Star Wars team making, the Roblox version of Kylo Ren, as he's literally just doing arm day. He's like half, mostly torso. But I love it. I think, make more meme action figures, U2s or whatever they call them. They do so many of those goofy things. And
well, to go off of that, to say, high praise for the Marvel Legends team. You can't discount the fact that, one, they put out a ton of product every year, repaints, new figures, regardless. It's an onslaught of constant product, and a lot of it is usually pretty good. Very, very few complaints other than needed this, the hands, weapons, something to kind of bring it to life a little bit more. That's usually where I lie, because usually I'm happy just to complete a team or to get a character that I really wanted, in that sense. And with the idea of it not being you have to get them all anymore is a little bit easier, especially on the wallet. But in juxtaposition to the Marvel team and talking about Star Wars, that's where I feel like it's kind of a big fallout in terms of product. I know a lot of it has to do with the recent movies reception, but my thing right now is watching the Book of Boba Fett and having pretty much zero product to have on the shelf, or even just kind of having there while you watch the episode. You know what I mean? That's part of the fun of watching these shows, is having all the merchandise.
It's funny with the Book of Boba Fett. For myself, like I haven't been able to really watch the show. I watched the first episode and I'm just like, yep, that was a Star War, and those were people. It
is. I really, really like the first episode.
I got my mom to spoil a character in the show for me, and I'm just like, thanks. I'm like, I kind of want to watch the show, but now, meanwhile, I'm watching Peacemaker and loving the hell out of that.
Oh, I have seen that. I have not caught it yet, but that's on it's on the list. Hopefully
episodes
by this weekend.
I'm 2 of 3 episodes in. That show, oh my god. Eddie would like the show just from a 1980s hair metal standpoint. I'll show you the playlist from the first 3 episodes, and you'll get a kick out of that.
I'm about ready for it too, because I did finally watch the most recent Suicide Squad.
It's very vulgar, Eddie. I'm just giving you a warning now. There are boobies, Eddie.
I heard that.
Whoa.
Well, vulgar boobies. Okay.
That's very vulgar boobies.
That's very interesting. Okay.
But I just think
a guy with a toilet on his head, right?
How dare you, sir? But what I love, though, also just. What I like about the Hasbro team as well, just like in the toy community in general, I like how a lot of these people that are behind the scenes are out there and taking suggestions and listening to the fan bases. Like, you have names like Ryan and Dwight and Dan, and they're all out there and letting themselves be out there listening to people's suggestions. And then you have also people like Jeremy Padwar from Jazzware. And like, Jeremy's a friggin' sweetheart. I love that dude. Like, he's the friendliest person on Twitter when he doesn't have to be. And, just there's something cool about that accessibility of these people. And they listen. They listen to the hardcore fans. They know, okay, let's do more of this, a little less of this, but we know you want this, this, and this. I like that. Although, I wish Marvel would stop making so many Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Deadpool figures, even though those are the ones that always sell out.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that funny? Don't even get me started on McFarlane and the Batman, right?
I'm in the same bat boat.
I'm really we were kind of hitting upon the Batman. I'm excited for the movie. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much. I seem to fare better, when it comes to kind of going in and not really paying. I don't know anything about the movie other than watching the trailer or trailers, but I like what I'm seeing so far. But all I'm hoping for is a good movie. That's all I want. That way I can go, cool. Now I got the figures on my shelves and we're set.
Well, my thing about DC right now, and I continually say it over and over, and I have a friend who has argued with me about it, where he goes, well, it's like in Airheads, they about playing the hits. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but after a while, you really discount your other characters. I remember going to the toy aisle, and I love telling this anecdote, where I went to the toy aisle in Walmart and I saw the Marvel and DC characters, but I go, wow, both comic companies are represented, Marvel and Batman, because that's what it is. And literally, if you zoom in, there's one character that's not a DC or not a Batman character, and it was either Superman or Cyborg.
Yeah.
And it's like, can't you just do somebody else? Meanwhile, you have talking raccoons and trees at Marvel.
Yeah, I really don't. I did a video recently where I was talking about how when McFarlane took over for Mattel for the DC Multiverse, there's a lot of things that I like that McFarlane does in terms of the sculpting and kind of harkening it back to a little bit of Spawn. You see little tweaks, and like that new Clayface coming out, he's got little faces all over him, which is from the comics, but it has that McFarlane edge to it where it's a little bit of a creepier Clayface than we've really ever gotten.
The
before.
Swampy alone.
Oh, yeah. That one, that's a great figure, too. He needs 2 stands to stand, but he's a great figure. It's the Kenner in me. You know what I mean? I go, oh, man, that was a great line back in the day. But to, like you're saying, have all these Marvel characters and then have all the DC. Yeah, Batman does sell, but with McFarlane aside, to look at DC Comics, I could not tell you what is happening in DC Comics other than what happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You know what I mean? And for the most part, early thousands, stuff like that.
Right now, Jeff Johns is doing a follow-up to the Flashpoint Paradox, and it's going to be primarily talking about the Thomas Wayne Batman.
Oh, the Flashpoint Beyond?
Yeah, and my comment, and I made it on Reddit, was, wow, an event from DC centered around Batman. Never saw that before. And I hate being that fanboy, but it's like at the same time, I'm just like, give us somebody else other than Batman. And that's like the main problem with the distinguished competition, as I always say. They're coming out with a Suicide Squad game from Rocksteady, and I'm excited, but apprehensively excited, because I jokingly say, how are they going to shoehorn in Batman to be the focal point? Because the whole plot of the game is kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
And, okay, when am I going to be playing as Batman? Because that's going to happen. There's the Arkham Knights game, I think, coming out soon, or something where you're playing as all of the characters in the Bat family.
That one doesn't interest me at all. I don't know what it is.
Batman Burnout.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, it's the main. And what really I liked about way back in the day was Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon, was when they took all those obscure characters and really brought to life a lot of them for me. I was like, oh, okay, so now I know a little bit more about Stars and Stripes, or I know more about Hawk and Dove. And they have been doing that with their live action stuff, but it's not necessarily something I want to watch still. I think it's a little bit too... I think Teen Titans went a little bit too hardcore, where it's not Teen Titans to me. I don't know. That's why I think DC is it's off. I guess that's the best way to describe it. They're just always a little bit off.
That's why. That's why, like, for myself, like when I'm looking at what they're doing, I want to see they're kind of going in a different direction with what they do in regards to the humorous products, because they're now they're trying to be like, well, the kids like laughing. Let's put in things that make them laugh. Laughter's popular. So it's like, let's do the James Gunn's The Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. And I hope, that there's a positive reaction to this, although the Snyder Bros now, or the Snyder Bots, are attacking that. And it's like, I don't want grimdark. I don't want, I don't need a movie or a show where I have to take a Xanax halfway through, because I want to just watch a movie and just have a good time. And that's where, like, when you see the opening sequence of Peacemaker, when he's dancing to Wigwam, and there's like doing the crab dance.
That's amazing.
It's so weird, but it works. And like, it gives me hope for what a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle movie or show could be like. When you see that, you're just like, what can be. Give it to us. You know, I'm in a channel of Dave Bautista right now. Give me what I want. Give me what I want. Give me what I want.
Well, I think that for whatever reason, unless they've just, you know, we've had it instilled in us for over, 10, 12 years now, Marvel characters largely go together. DC's don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, of course, it's worked tons of times, Justice League and all kinds of crazy comic book team-ups and stuff like that. But when it's put to live action, they cannot seem to crack that code. Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad. You always got to put the in front of that.
Because the is the superior film.
You know, it was work, but they need to embrace the more comic bookness instead of going like, let's just make it dark and brooding and weird. They need to go lighthearted, weird, have those dark, brooding moments, but make it. I think that's where DC really shines. It's bonkers, so go that route. You know, make it weird as heck, and I think people will gravitate towards it.
And a quick side note, now somehow I knew Peter would bring this in there, but Dave Bautista today, January 18th, happy birthday, Dave Bautista, 53.
Happy birthday, Big Dave, and many more.
He's probably in the room too, but he's just invisible.
Oh,
like
Eddie.
Mark Texiera would, you know.
Mark Texiera. You owe me a commission. No, he doesn't, but... Anyway, I just think it's also funny because, like, there's so... Yeah, you mentioned, you know, the off-the-wall goofballness of, you know, that DC can be. We have Batmite and Mr. Mixoplex. And you can't utilize that? Because there's, like, a diehard, you know, fan base where just like, no, I want to be able to be depressed.
You know, I would love to see Superman in a movie go up against the Promethean. Remember that from... And that's how I know from like Kirby's artwork. I would love that. Just make it. It doesn't have to be Luthor or any or any other credible villain. I mean, of course, I'd love to see Metallo or something like that eventually. But just to see Superman doing Superman sci-fi things would be more ideal than a lot of what's seen.
We need Shaq back in the DCEU as Steel.
There we go. Yeah, see? McFarlane needs to make a Steel figure.
Shaq up against the Metal Men.
I was thinking you'd say Aaron Carter because Aaron Carter beat Shaq once. But that's a reference I didn't think I'd be making today, ladies and gentlemen. And fun fact, out of everyone in this room and on the phone, I'm the only person here who probably owns Steel on DVD. Yes, I don't know why, but I own it.
I have a lot of that run of the comics.
Oh, no, you should watch the movie. It sucks. But anyway... ToyShiz, thank you so much for being on the program today, talking comics, talking toys, talking all that good stuff with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This has been great to be able to talk about Moon Knight, you know what I mean? Like that's been on my mind the last 24 hours, so great to get it all out. You know, you got to
Would you say you've been
loony?
loony?
All the nerdity, right?
Would you say you've been loony for Mooney the past 24 hours?
I have, yes.
It's all Peter's
that needs
fault.
To go on a shirt.
It's
Mooney
all
for Mooney.
That's it. It's all Peter's fault, and there'll be a breakfast cereal on the way.
Now, how can people get a hold of you on our social medias?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'll make it real easy on you. If you go on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all the happening apps that all the kids are liking these days, ToyShiz. It's real easy. All one word.
Very cool. And ourselves on our end, you can find myself on Twitter and Instagram at Peter Melnick. Eddie, what are you on?
Instagram at Eddie9193, and the one that started it all because, you know, it's what happened. And look for the guy in the sunglasses. That's me.
Oh, on what?
FB.
Oh.
Not IG, FB.
Franklin Berry, yes. So find Eddie on Franklin Berry. Or Frankenberry.
Now you're talking. That's my breakfast cereal.
Mine's Boo Berry.
Oh, well.
Boo Berry's delicious.
You would.
Hey, Boo Berry's good. They're all good. They're all
So
berry
is-
flavored with
that's
the
right.
exception of Chocula.
Count Chocula is...
They all taste the same. You just don't like it because it's blue and it makes you sad. You're like, oh, I'm blue now.
Yeah, it does all right. Mhm.
Yeah, good enough. You can also find us collectively at The Marvelists. And yeah, also all those other listening platforms and patreon.com/
The Marvelists.
There we go. For The Marvelists, I'm Peter Melnick.
I am ToyShiz.
And I'm Eddie Wilson. Excelsior.